Yeah, yesterday my brother wasn't with us. I mentioned earlier he had a little problem with his passport, so he couldn't come with us to Egypt yesterday and see the column and everything. And he was going to tell you the story about us him climbing up the mountain in the wadi that we took a picture of yesterday.
In the wadi that Israelites came through to go down to the Red Sea before the crossing, I think it was in 93 or 94, Eric Limke and Josh Neiswanger was with us on a trip, and my father said we were driving down on the road that goes through the wadi now, and he said, hey, you guys, go climb that big mountain right there and see what you can see, how far you can see down, you know, which direction and stuff. And we climbed up this really big mountain, and on top of it there was some rocks that were piled up like this, and there was a middle section, and they were kind of wide, like this wide, and so they could actually may have used that as to signal to another mountain further up in the wadi. So when the Egyptians were chasing them, they said, you know, they could signal up ahead to know how close the Egyptians were to them. And so and when you look through it, you could look right to the other mountain and see a pile of rocks on it. And I'm sure that if you climbed the other one, it would have shown the other mountain, another one up ahead. So the Israelites had very good scouting people who were warning them of how close the Pharaoh was coming behind them. So it's really interesting that there's all sorts of evidence that had to be the route they took. After our father discovered the true path that the Israelites took through the wadi down to the Red Sea and where the Red Sea crossing site is, we knew that Mount Sinai had to be in Saudi Arabia. So around 1980, we started applying for visas to get into Saudi Arabia, and they always turned us down. And in 1984, towards the end of the year, my father decided that we were going to go there anyway. And so we flew to Aqaba, Jordan, and we got a hotel. And, well, we rented a car, got a hotel, and we woke up about 2 or 3 in the morning because we weren't accustomed to the time change and stuff. And we all three woke up, and Dad said, guys, he said, I'm going to go on into Saudi Arabia. He said, it's up to you guys if you want to go with me, or if you don't, here's your plane ticket, your passport, you can just go back home. And we told him that, you know, we couldn't let him go by himself, you know. And so what we did is we drove our car over to as close to the border as we could get, and we took a side road and parked it back off the road a little
behind
ways.
The hill, so nobody could see the car.
And we were carrying some snorkeling gear, movie camera, and an underwater camera case for the camera, and bottles of water and stuff like that we needed. And so we started hiking through the mountains at about 2 or 3 in the morning, and we just went up and down these hills for about 14 hours it took us. And when we got over there, we went by a couple guard towers, and then when we got over past the guard towers, we went towards the road, towards the shore.
Nobody saw you?
We saw soldiers out there driving, then we'd hide down, and then we'd keep going after they passed. Yeah.
And it was a very tiring, it was rough on our dad going that far because he was in his 50s then. And we got to the road, and we decided we were going to walk down to the water and kind of refresh ourselves. And there was a family there. There was like a kid and the mom and dad. And we went down there, and he turned out to be a banker in a town, and he could speak English real well. And he said, well, he could take us on into town, because we said, you know, we would really like something to eat. And he said, okay, I'll take you. And so he took us to a restaurant, and we ate, and then he took us to his house, and we actually sat and talked to him for a while in his house. And then we had him get us a cab, and we got a cab, and we drove on into Tobuk, I think is the name of the town. And we spent the night in Tobuk at a hotel, and the next day we hired a car to try to take us down to the crossing site on that side, so we could go snorkeling and hopefully take underwater pictures of chariot wheels that we knew must be there. And there was a fence that was along there, and it was a military area, the sign said on it, and so we couldn't go there at all. And so the next thing we did is we had the driver, we tried to explain to him Moses, or Dad would say Musa, and they understood the story, and then they came up with the name Jabal El Laws. They knew what we were talking about, Mountain of the Laws. And we said yes, and so the driver was taking us out there. And when we got close, a Jeep came driving out of the area and started yelling at our driver and told him to get out of here. You know, take them away, get them out of there, because that was also a military area, it turned out. And after discovering that we couldn't get to either of the places, we decided that we needed to go on back out of the country and try again some other time, and my dad was too tired from the hike in and real sore, and he said, guys, he said, I'm not going to be able to make it out the same way we came in. And so we decided to go try to get out through the customs, you know, the actual border where everybody goes through. And when we did, they started questioning us and pretty much said, wait here. And then some military showed up and took us to jail. And basically they accused us of being Israeli spies because of the equipment we were carrying.
But also there was somebody who turned you in, wasn't it?
Yes, we found out later, we didn't know at that time, but a man had called and said that we were spies. Not so very good friend of my father's. And
he knew you were going in there?
Yes, we had told him we were going, and anyway, he let them know ahead of time, so when we showed up at the border, of course, they just put us straight away in jail. And we stayed there for 75 days, being questioned and things. And also, when we first got there, they separated us and took us one by one in for questioning to see if our story would match up, and it didn't.
It didn't?
No, because we made up a story.
Why, how we got in there.
We told them that we hired a boat